You ever been on vacation, somewhere beautiful, and just kind of wondered what secrets might be lying right under your feet? Well, we're going to dive into a story about a place where the past isn't just buried, it's sitting right out in the middle of the street.
For thousands of tourists every single year, this place, Kaş, is an absolute dream destination. You've got the sun, the sea, incredible food. It's pretty much the definition of a perfect Mediterranean getaway. But here's the thing, that's only half the story. See, underneath all this modern paradise, you've got an entire ancient city. It's like a ghost hiding in plain sight. And once you know what to look for, you start seeing clues to it everywhere.
Okay, so let's start right in the heart of modern Kaş, where the first and maybe most startling clue to its secret identity is just waiting for you. I mean, just picture this. You're walking down the street past all these modern shops and cafes, and bam, there's this. A massive, monumental tomb that the locals call the King's Tomb. It's been standing right here for over 2,000 years. This thing, it's the first real clue that helps us unravel the city's true name. And that name is Antifellos. The Lycians who first lived here actually called it Habessos, which meant something like the place opposite the rocks. And this ancient city, it's the blueprint that the entire modern town of Kaş is built on top of. So how did this place get to be so important? Well, its story is all about how a simple port grew into a real regional powerhouse. You see, Antifellos wasn't always the star of the show. It actually started out as just the port for a bigger, more powerful city up in the hills called Fellos. But, as history so often shows us, location, it's everything. Fellos, stuck up in those rocky hills, started to fade, while its coastal daughter city, Antifellos, just began to boom. So what was its secret? Well, Antifellos had some serious economic engines chugging away. It was perfectly placed on the coast, it controlled a really valuable timber trade, we're talking cedar wood from the mountains, and it had a booming sponge diving industry. All that wealth meant it got so powerful that it eventually just broke away from Fellos and started minting its own coins, which back then was basically the ultimate flex. It meant you had truly made it. If you really want to understand the soul of an ancient city, you have to look at how it treated its dead. And wow, the hills all around Antifellos, they're like this huge open-air museum of tombs. And every single one tells a piece of the city's story. So get this. Back in the 1840s, this British explorer, Charles Fellows, shows up, and he was just floored by what he saw. He literally counted and documented over 100 tombs just scattered all over the landscape. It was a true city of the dead, a ghost town just filled with these incredible ruins. And the tombs themselves tell this long, amazing story. You've got these massive sarcophagi, like that king's tomb we saw. Then there are these dramatic tombs carved right into the cliff faces, and even these unique Doric-style ones. What's really wild is that some were even reused centuries later by the Romans, which shows you how the city just kept changing over time. Okay, let's circle back to that crazy tomb in the middle of the shopping street for a sec, because its biggest secret isn't how big it is, it's the writing on it. It's written in Melian, a super rare, ancient language that, even today, nobody has been able to fully translate. I mean, how cool and frustrating is that? It's a direct message from a lost world, and we still can't read it. All right, now for the grand finale of our little tour here. Because every great ancient city needed a showstopper, right? A big public space. And the crown jewel of Antifellos is, well, it's absolutely spectacular. Just a little walk from the main town, you find this stunningly restored Hellenistic theater. It was big enough for about 3,000 people. And the architects? They were clever. They made sure everyone had a perfect view, but not just of what was happening on stage. See, if you look really close, you'll notice something's missing. There's a really basic piece of architecture that you'd find in almost every single other theater from this time, but not here. Any ideas what it is? The answer? It doesn't have a permanent stage building, what they called a skene, and that was totally on purpose. The architects deliberately left it out so that the natural backdrop for every single performance was the spectacular, uninterrupted view of the Mediterranean Sea. The sea itself became the stage. How incredible is that? It just tells you everything you need to know about who they were. They were a city of the sea. So what happened? How did this thriving city end up as a secret buried under a vacation hotspot? Well, the final chapter of its story is a mix of disaster, rediscovery, and, well, disappearance.
So Antifellos is thriving for centuries, right? But then, in 1481, wham, a huge earthquake and a tsunami just devastate the coast. The city was rebuilt, but, the golden age was kind of over. By the time Charles Fellows got there in the 1840s, it was pretty much abandoned, just a treasure trove of ruins. And today, it's a booming town again, but that comes at a price.
And here's the really tough part, the paradox of it all. So many of those 100-plus tombs and buildings that Charles Fellows saw, they're just gone. Over the last century, their stones were taken and used to build the very hotels and houses that make up modern Kaş. The new town was literally built with the stones of the old one. It's a story of how progress sometimes eats the very past it's built on.
But there is a sliver of hope. Back in 2009, Antifellos was put on the tentative list for UNESCO World Heritage status. That's a huge deal. It's a recognition of how important this place is to the whole world. And it's a vital step towards protecting what's left.
And all of this leaves us with one last kind of urgent question. The next time you're wandering through some beautiful historic town, maybe take a second. Remember that the biggest treasures might be hidden right there. It really makes you wonder, what other secrets are we paving over? What stories are we losing before we even get a chance to discover them?